Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Jason with Jadren Aquatics. Thanks for hanging out with me in the fish room again today. So we had so much fun with our top 5 useful things in the fish room that every single person that has a fish tank has to have, that we decided to make a part 2. Now again, these aren't your common things like a net. Yeah, we know we need a net or fish food or a heater or other things like that. These are things you don't typically ever really think of, and you may think, man, I never thought about using that. That is a really cool idea. If you didn't see the first video, you want to check that out. There's some really cool things that were in there. I'll link that above. Before we get going, before you see what these are, I want to know, what is that one thing that's in your fish room, or if you just have one aquarium, what is that one thing that you have that you think everyone should have? Leave that right down. Pause right now. Pause the video. Go down below and write me and tell me, what is that one thing that you have to have with your fish tank? So let's go ahead and let's move ahead and let's get started with the very first thing that you have to have if you have a fish tank. First thing you have to have is this stuff. This is called polyfilter. This isn't your typical filter. This stuff is really cool, because what I like about it, people use it as normal filter medium, but it's kind of expensive, so you don't really want to use it just as normal filter medium, even though it works incredibly well. It's really great to use in an emergency situation. For instance, if you spill something in your tank, or all of a sudden your tank looks weird, or your fish are acting really weird and you just don't know what to do, this stuff is great. You put this stuff in one of your filters, a canister filter, in your sump, a hang on the back filter, and you run it through it, and what happens is, as it's running, the filter will turn colors, and it'll literally tell you what it is that it's absorbing out of the water. It gives you different colors for different things, like it'll tell you a certain color if it's if it turns from aqua to dark blue, it's copper. For orange, it's iron, bright red, aluminum, so on and so forth, ammonia, all different types of things. So this stuff is absolutely, you can't live without this stuff, because this thing could absolutely save your tank if you end up in an emergency. And a lot of people will take these, and you've probably seen them before when you've ordered fish. There'll be this little piece of foamy stuff floating in your water. Well, that's what it is. Someone has taken this stuff and cut a little piece on it and put it into the water, because this stuff will absorb the ammonia as it builds up in the water. So this stuff, gotta have. Before we move on to the next thing, first of all, if you are a subscriber to my channel, thank you guys so much. I would not be here if it wasn't for you. You guys are absolutely awesome. But if you're not a subscriber, and when I say not a subscriber, I want you guys to know that 80% of the people that watch my videos are not even subscribers to my channel. And you know who you are. Yeah, you. You're watching my channel right now and you're not a subscriber. Take the time and hit the subscribe button. Even if you don't want to hit that bell to notify when I have videos out, even though I'd love for you to do that, just the fact that you subscribing really helps me out, and I would really appreciate if you would take the time to hit that subscribe button. And heck, while your mouse is right there, move that sucker over a little bit and click the like button, because when you click the like button, YouTube likes to share my videos with more and more people. All right, so let's move on to the second thing that you gotta have. You know what that is? That is a turkey baster. You have to have a turkey baster. I cannot tell you the different things that I use this for. I absolutely use this thing 10 times a day. I mainly use it in the sense for brine shrimp. Whenever I'm cleaning out my brine shrimp, trying to get all the salt water out, or when I'm feeding the fish, I use this, put the brine shrimp in here and then drip it in there. But it's also great if you're trying to catch small fry, because this thing, you can control how much suction you have with it. So it's real easy to get there and get that fish out. Or if something is in your tank that you're trying to suck out, or some detritus in the bottom you can't get to, and you don't want to get your whole python out, you can take this thing and easily suck it out. So this thing comes in incredibly handy. And on that note, also, everything that I'm showing you guys, I will list in the description above, so you guys can find it if you guys are interested in buying it. So turkey baster, gotta have. Next thing, this. Who knows what this is? This is what is called a magic eraser. It's also referred to, I think, as a melanin sponge. This thing is absolutely fantastic when cleaning tanks. But be sure, again, I'll link it below or above. you get the right ones, because there's a lot of them that are out there that have like a chemical in it. You want the ones that are just completely normal. They're just virgin material and there's no additives to it. The link that I have above is the actual ones that I buy. These things work great. You can take these things and you can clean the inside of your tank, get these things completely wet, and they don't affect your tank water whatsoever. And it's crazy how well these things will scrub and get stuff off. A lot of people use these in their houses like to get fingerprints and stuff off of the painted walls without taking the paint off. So these things are fantastic. Magic eraser, these things you gotta have. All right, next thing that you gotta have. This right here. No, not just any breeder box, because any breeder box is not the Marina Breeder Box. This thing is absolutely fantastic. I use this thing so many different ways. First of all, just simply because you can hang it on your tank makes things really, really easy. So if you're catching fish, you need a place to put them, you can put them right here because it's hanging on the edge of the tank. The other thing that it's fantastic for is it comes with this system so that you can actually pump the tank water in here and then it overflows out, and it works completely on air. And so it has a little piece that comes off the edge here that you hook your air line into, and then it blows bubbles in it, and that forces water up in here. So then if you have fry that's hatched in your tank, like you have guppies and you're trying to save them from the parents, you can put this on there, hang this from your tank, and now it's getting the same water that was in the tank where these guys were born. So you're not stressing them out or killing them by putting them in another tank. You've got a place for them to be able to hide, and then you can feed them in here. So you can feed them baby brine shrimp or whatever it is that you want to feed them, and you can turn the water off if you don't want it to overflow, so you can make sure that they get enough food. This thing, I can't tell you, I have probably 10 or 12 of these in my fish room. They come in all different sizes. They come in one that's like half this size, and they come one that's about this long. And so, man, I just use these things all the time, all the time. Okay, so that is the fourth thing. So let's talk about the last thing that you have to have. You gotta have these things. These are just some simple clips. These things are real cheap and they come in all different sizes, and I have at least a dozen or so of each one. You can do so many things with these, and you'll find out you need them all the time. If you're trying to float something in the water like a plastic tub and it always wants to float off, you can simply take this and clip it down so that it doesn't float away. Or what I like to use is on my water lines, my drip lines that I have sitting on the edge. I just take these things and clip them on the edge, and it holds onto the line so that the water doesn't fall off and end up getting all in the floor. And also, if you've got a bunch of air lines that are just kind of hanging all over the place, instead of having to take like a zip tie or something and put them together, and you can just take these things, put all those things together, clip them together, and clip it against anything else that's around the tank. That way it keeps it all together. You'll be absolutely amazed at how often that you use these things. These are kind of like, to me, they're kind of like duct tape in normal life. You know how you always end up using duct tape for everything? Well, that's how these clips are. When I first bought them, I didn't really know exactly what I was going to use them for. I just thought, hey, those look kind of handy. And so I've come to find out I use these things absolutely all of the time. They're just absolutely fantastic. So there you go. There are 5 more things I think that you absolutely have to have for your tank. Let me tell you a few other things that I think are important, but they're more of a common thing. One of those things is a light timer for your fish tank. When you're controlling your lights, it's so much easier, because if you just turn your lights on and off as you want to, you're gonna leave them on too long and you're gonna end up with all sorts of problems with algae growing. But if you have a timer on your light, you can control exactly how many hours it goes. If you guys will look at most of my tanks, I get a lot of comments on the tank all the time that my tanks are clean. I have very few algae problems. That's because I typically only run my lights about 7 to 8 hours a day, and they're all on timers. So it makes it a whole lot easier. Another thing that you might want is a TDS meter. Now, a TDS meter is great for measuring total dissolved solids. I use it a lot simply because I have shrimp, and when you're dealing with Caridina shrimp, it's important to know what the TDS is whenever you're mixing certain things. Because it has to do with the TDS is the easiest way to measure it, to know that you put enough of that in there. There's a lot of other uses for that, and the same thing with a pH meter. The simple little stick pH meters, they're not the greatest things in the world, they're not the greatest accuracy, but they allow you to measure between tanks. So even if it's not actually right, you can see if this tank is 7.6 and this one's 6.6, you know there's a 1.0 pH difference between the two, and you probably just don't want to swap fish in and out of it because you might stress them out and you might kill them. You may have to drip acclimate them. So there you go. There are my top 5 things. So if you've got any comments, be sure and leave them down below. So thanks again, guys, and God bless.